Hello and welcome to Ben and Curt Till It Hurts, the culture cast caught at the crossroads of curation and castration. Curtis, how are you?
I'm excellent, Ben. How are you?
I'm pretty well. What was that face about?
I didn't know I was making a face.
As soon as I started talking, your face just went like...
You know what it was? I don't have my headphones on for you listeners out there, so it was really weird for the first time to just sit in complete silence, not being able to hear the music, and then just
hear me talking.
Ben jumping in, like, all right, well, it worked. That's production here. That's quality control.
All right, we're off on the right foot.
Yeah.
What have you been up to, Curtis?
Well, I've been continuing my steady stream of full moon pictures.
Oh, good.
But an additional bonus to that, there are some other movies that I don't know. They're not full moon movies, but they have the rights to stream them, apparently. There's a wide selection of, like, 70s Italian, like, Euro sleaze horror. So, like, She Killed in Ecstasy and Vampire Lesbos and all those movies are on there. So I'm gonna do that pretty soon.
Yeah, but, you haven't jumped into those
no,
yet.
No, I haven't got into them yet. The only other thing is God, my leg. I recently got the 300th issue of Game Informer magazine. I don't actually subscribe to that, but somebody let me borrow it because for their 300th issue, they ranked the top 300 video games of all time, according to them and their writers. And I actually, like, forgot that I do like video games. Like, I was looking through and I was like, wow, there are some great games in here that I haven't thought about in a long time.
Yeah, I looked at that list, too, and had a similar feeling.
Yeah, I haven't gone back to play any of them. I did start playing... I saw, like, Secret of Mana and, like, Final Fantasy on there. And so I started playing Terranigma a little bit because
An unusual game.
Yeah, I feel like I missed out on... I had a Super Nintendo, but I was more at, like, the Mario age than, you know, the JRPG.
And the, like, super cool spiky hair.
Yeah, so I'm trying to dip my toes in there a little bit to see if I can still have it, or if it's just gone, if it's just a thing of the past.
You have to get into a very specific rhythm to enjoy those games.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Well, I've been thinking about JRPGs a lot, not playing any of them. I really want to go back and play Chrono Trigger again, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've got to. It was on that list, and that's always the one that jumps out at me when I think about this shit.
Maybe we should do it together.
Chrono Trigger?
That way we could do, like, a once-a-month ongoing series about
That's
Chrono
a good
Trigger.
idea. I think that's a good format to do video game episodes in, because Chrono Trigger is a long-ass game. And after that, we'll have to play Chrono Cross.
That one's a little harder, I think, to get your hands on, isn't it?
I have a copy.
Do you? Well,
yeah.
I'm Ben. I have a copy of Chrono Cross.
It's the fucking greatest hits edition. It's not like a first edition of Chrono Cross or anything, but yeah, that's a great game.
I've never played that one. I've barely played Chrono Trigger, so that'll be interesting. Let's do that. We'll start.
So that'll be next time we want to do a video game episode.
We'll start planning that.
Yeah.
So,
what are we talking about this week, Curtis?
We are.
This is a good way to follow up the David Lynch series.
A great handful of episodes. It's weird. As soon as the David Lynch series was over, I feel like it's spring now. I feel like that was such a winter.
All the snow has melted outside
to me, and as soon as we moved past David Lynch, I was like, new beginnings. Like, it's a new year, a new season.
I remember that I like podcasting.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to these episodes. We're starting out with the Boondock Saints.
Connor, stop the car. Stop the fucking car, man.
Vincenzo, that fat motherfucker, Yakovetta's right hand. He's the one that set me up, then he went around shooting his mouth off, telling everybody I was good as dead. Goes in there every Wednesday night, 10 o'clock, jerks off in the same titty dance and never misses.
Yes, so?
So let's kill a motherfucker. I mean, what are you guys? Like, that's your new thing, right?
Well...
what the fuck? I mean, who makes a cut? Is there a raffle or something?
Well, to tell you the truth, those first ones, I just sort of fell into our laps.
Well, what do you do?
We haven't really got a system of deciding who, Rock. It's,
Me! I'm the guy. I know everyone, their habits, who they hang out with, who they talk to. I got phone numbers, addresses. I know who they're fucking. I know where they live. We could kill everyone.
So what do you think?
I'm strangely comfortable with it.
Boondock Saints.
which we've been talking about for a while now.
Yep.
I don't know how it came up initially, but I
I don't know. Well, just when we were like brainstorming ideas for shows we'd want to do, I think that Boondock Saints is an important film for our generation.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
it just comes to the surface.
I know we even talked about it as far back as the Tarantino ones, and that's like,
Well, yeah.
that's like classic B and C till at H.
Yeah, that's like the first thing we ever did.
Are we at a year yet? It's close. It might be next week.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometime in April though. April is the anniversary month.
Oof, good
Yeah,
times.
it's been a good year.
I should get you a pint glass or something. I'll just get you a plain pint glass from Dollar Tree and write Ben on it with a
Exchange of
Sharpie.
gifts. Get me like a McDonald's promo tie-in glass for Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, I was gonna say, get you the Boondock Saints tie-in
Yeah.
from your own plastic pennies.
Yep. I put them on my eyes before we record.
So,
How do you feel about Boondock Saints?
You know, I'm just gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
I still really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I loved it
You loved it,
and hated it.
yeah. Same.
in about not equal measure, probably more hate than love.
Yeah, it's hard for me. Like, I really did enjoy it, but it kind of does it boils down to like a stereotype that I kind of hate. So it's a weird. As a movie, I just really liked it, but that like one of my least favorite things is like the notion of the like good, quiet white guy, but don't push him to the edge. 'cause
Vigilante justice.
Then
Someone's got to do something.
he'll learn you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so.
He speaks 5 languages.
Yeah, he's just this intelligent, white guy, misunderstood.
Fucking erudite. Lives in a dojo.
Yeah.
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 Assholes.
But I did like it, though. I enjoyed the movie.
Here's the thing about Boondock Saints. It's incompetently made at every level. It is not just a bad movie, but maybe an evil movie.
You think?
Yeah. So watching this movie, I'm a little uptight about religious imagery, right? So I get to the parts where they pray right before they shoot people in the head, and like I get a soul sickness. Like I feel like it's the first time, and like I watched The Exorcist and shit, and it didn't make me feel like this. It makes me feel like maybe I shouldn't be watching this.
Well, I think,
and it's the first time I felt that way watching a film.
My first reaction to that is whether you agree with William Peter Blatty, he wrote The Exorcist from a mindset of he was a very religious person. So maybe that like appreciation and respect can still come through in The Exorcist. I don't know if Troy Duffy, I don't know where he falls on the...
Troy Duffy has... Boondock Saints might be ironclad proof of the existence of God, because Troy Duffy has constructed a cinematic universe for his film to take place in that is completely amoral. And the way in which the universe of the Boondock Saints appears completely fucking fuck-ass backwards indicates to me that, like, okay, if this is a film that takes place in a universe without a god, and the difference between this film and our world proves that there is a god in our world pulling the strings. Also, Troy Duffy's general lack of success and the fact that everybody thinks he's a fucking asshole also proves to me that God looked at Boondock Saints and was like, nope, no, not that guy. Not that guy. Not till he turns his shit around. Clean your fucking room, Troy Duffy.
And then he just never did.
Yeah,
and
he doubled down.
That
Troy Duffy, classic case of demonic possession.
Troy, I know you're listening. We're sorry you're possessed by demons, but
Pazuzu.
we just call it like we sees it.
You were gonna say something.
I was reading about some of the production stuff behind this, and I found it to be some of the stuff that I found very interesting was that apparently this the script for this was like, it looked like it was gonna make a pretty big splash.
It was on the blacklist for a while, right? Like the best scripts that haven't been produced yet.
People were like kind of fighting over it, and like I know specifically for Willem Dafoe's character, they were like trying to like certain studios were trying to see like which big names they could pull into it to like just get those numbers up because this movie was going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird. It's typical like I guess like Hollywood stuff. It just kept getting choked up, and Troy was hard to work with.
Well, he had a deal with Miramax, right? The Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein.
Do I have a drink in here, or did I leave it somewhere?
I think you left it somewhere. Oh, boy.
It's going to be a long one.
Yeah. We can take a break at some point.
No, that's fine.
Troy Duffy and Harvey Weinstein had a deal to get this movie made, and Troy Duffy was just so fucking impossible to be around or to talk to.
Yeah.
That Weinstein ended up dropping him.
To the point where I was looking at like a breakdown of like the money that was forwarded to get this movie off the ground, and like they gave Troy Duffy $300,000, and they were like, just keep your director's fee, like we're not even like, it must have been, I feel like it must have been really bad, as far as producing it, to just, we don't even care, we don't even, just keep the money, you're not gonna get the rest of the money, but that's yours, like it's not even worth it. And then it was so I don't know. It was also interesting that he had never written a script before.
Yeah, but he was working as a bartender in L.A., right? He was one of those guys. I'm working as a bartender and trying to get my script made. Yeah. Dime a dozen in L.A.
Yeah, and I guess I do think there are some really cool things in this script for a guy who has never written a script before. Mm-hmm. Like, there were some really cool ideas in the Boondock Saints.
Like what?
Specifically, as the movie progresses and you see the different crime scenes, it as far as character development goes, you have was his name Smecker?
Smecker.
Willem Dafoe's
it rhymes
character.
With Pecker.
That's how you remember it.
That's
Smecker the Pecker.
Why his name was chosen, and B, also how you remember it.
And so when you have the first crime scene where they find the guy whose head was crushed in and all that.
Yeah, fucking serial crusher, fucking huge
guy. The big
guy.
friggin' guy.
Big friggin' guy. We got the big friggin' guy theory.
So when they're looking at that crime scene, it's very clear that it's after the fact, and Willem Dafoe is walking around trying to piece together what the hell could have possibly happened here. And then when they go to the next crime scene, the hotel room, he's describing it in present time, and then it cuts back and it shows how it happens. Mm-hmm. And then in the third crime scene, at the poker game, you're seeing Willem Dafoe act it out alongside the Saints. Mm-hmm. So as Willem Dafoe's character progresses through the story and becomes more and more aligned to the Saints, he views himself in that crime scene more and more as it's happening, and not just trying to interpret it afterward, which I think is a really cool, which I never noticed before. Like, and I think that's a really cool way to to do the same thing 3 times and have it not be boring, and to have it develop how this character is an FBI agent, but by the end of the movie, he's working with these vigilantes.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yep.
What else about this movie? I don't know.
That's it. Really.
Well, this has been fun. I never even got thirsty. We're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, okay. That is a cool idea. It's also kind of a limp Tarantino imitation, which also very much describes Boondock Saints.
That there's a lot of that going on in this movie.
Yeah, just completely flaccid Tarantino fucking dick sucking.
Yeah. But, I still really like the product. I liked it more than I thought I would.
Yeah. No, me too. Yeah. Yeah. And well, what do I like about it? I guess it's hard to say. I think what I like about it is how perfectly it communicates what it is.
Yeah.
Which is probably why it has such a cultish fan base, because there are these young men that are like, yeah, something needs to be done.
Yeah.
Somebody should do something. Why isn't anything being done about this?
Yeah.
There are black people everywhere.
There are black people everywhere. Oh my god.
They don't kill any black people in the movie.
Yeah.
But when they're talking about who they're gonna kill, And Rocco's like, no, it's not just mafia guys, right? You pimps, drug dealers. It's like, okay, you're talking about all the black criminals that you couldn't kill in this movie for political reasons, but that's what the fucking movie's about, Curtis.
You think?
I think there's a heavy racial element to... I think there's a heavy racial and sexual element to Boondock Saints that is present in its absence. There's 0 female speaking roles in this movie other than like the druggy bitches and a child. Well, Ben, don't forget about the druggy bitches.
You don't remember the druggy bitch.
And there's one black character. He's a judge, which is but other than that, man, the representation in Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
Especially for a movie that seems to claim to have all the answers about what's wrong with society. It's not really what this show is about. But it is an important element of the Boondock Saints.
And I think I am kind of predisposed to understand, I guess, or want to like this movie because these guys are essentially like the Punisher, which was something that I really liked.
Yeah, they're like the Punisher without the Vietnam PTSD angle. Also, they are unambiguous good guys.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Punisher's an anti-hero, man.
Yeah.
Punisher, you're never quite sure, like, well, maybe you are. But the Punisher, you're always kind of like, is he doing the right thing? Is he not doing the right thing?
So,
with the McMurphys, you never know what's going on with, what are they, Connor and Murphy McMurphy?
Murphy McMurphy, yes.
I
don't remember their names.
People, sorry. I only know their names for a very specific reason.
What does it rhyme with?
Is there no, it's not. No, it's Connor and Murphy McManus, right?
Oh yeah, that's
Connor and Murphy McManus, and the only reason I know their names is because of something we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Okay,
which is the Boondock Saints fan fiction community.
Oh my god,
it's fucking out of control, and is actually my favorite thing about this film.
You know what's nuts about that is
everything.
Let's
top to bottom, everything about that is
talk
nuts.
A little bit about the
movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the aftermath of this movie. I'm not surprised at all to find out that there's like a fan fiction base about this. But Troy Duffy, moved to LA to make this movie. This was his one movie, and it did not have a smooth release. It never had this big bang of a release, but he never gave up on it.
He never gave up. He kept pushing that fucking rock up that hill.
And then so much that he was like, I want to do a sequel. It took 10 years.
10 more years.
To make another sequel.
10 years of Hollywood video rentals.
And now
to build up that community.
He's working on a third one. He's been trying to get a third one made.
Boondock Saints, Legion.
Oh, God.
Boondock Saints,
that's not a good name.
Legion.
So... Now, this movie...
Also a TV show. Don't forget about the TV show.
Yeah, I forgot about the TV show. So
How could you forget about the TV show?
Came out in 1999.
Yep.
To a super limited release.
Super limited release. Why? Why could this movie possibly come out in a limited release?
What else happened?
What else happened? And I just can't put my finger on it. What else happened in 1999 that might make a movie about two white men wearing black coats and carrying duffel bags full of guns so that they could exact vigilante justice against their self-defined most evil people in the world? Why? What else happened in 1999 that would make it might make that a little hard to swallow for the movie-going audience, Curtis? The Matrix came out. They didn't want to look like fucking.
It could not compare to the success of the. Everyone was just seeing the Matrix.
Everyone was going to see the Matrix, and it felt a little Fight Clubby too. So they're like, we can't.
Yeah.
No, fucking Columbine shootings came out. Were the Columbine shootings God trying to make it so that Boondock Saints didn't get released? I don't know.
Who knows?
I'm going to leave that for the audience to decide.
Now, so that was in 1999, and then I don't know like it was video store rentals, right? That
I think wasn't it like a Hollywood video exclusive or something?
I don't know.
I think it might have gotten released in like 5 theaters or something.
Yeah,
as
it was
well.
only 5, and so like way later, like 2006, it got like a redistribution
as like an unrated, uncut version.
Yeah,
with more cat guts.
Yeah, more cat guts, and that was when I was 16 in 2006. So that was like when I heard about that movie, I was like, oh, that's why my friend Seth wears a pea coat every day. Like
that's why all those guys are the way they are.
They saw that movie. So I think I saw this movie in 2007, and like I thought it was new because I didn't know this whole backstory of its awful release. But it really has like developed a weird cult following, like amongst people that don't usually follow unpopular things. Like I went to, there was a big in my high school, like a big football playery group of people that really liked this movie.
Yeah.
One of them got the tattoos like on his hand, the
oh my word,
the Veritas tattoo.
Yeah, Veritas and what is it, Equitas?
Yeah, but he didn't have a friend that would get the Equitas one,
so he had to get them both.
No, he just had one.
Oh, he just had Veritas?
Like, how sad is that? You don't even have like your friend or brother to do that with. So this movie had a big effect on angsty white kids.
Oh yeah,
myself included. I loved this movie when I was in high school.
I was a little too old when I got exposed to it first. I was not yet old enough that I could look at it with like reverent nostalgia on what it's like to be that old. I was just old enough that when I watched it, I felt contempt for myself.
Yeah,
2 years ago.
Oh, so it was only 2 years ago that you saw it for the first time?
No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, nothing. Oh. I was 18 when I first tried to watch this movie. I should have watched it when I was 15, 16, around there. Because when I was 18, all I could feel was hatred for 16-year-old me. Whereas now, looking back, I can gaze upon both of them with like loving, nostalgia.
Sure. Well, we should probably talk about the movie a little bit, I guess.
What happens in this movie?
I don't know. A couple white boys go killing everybody.
Yeah, a couple of white boys. Well, why do they start killing people?
They come to the realization that these are the scum of the earth. I guess is that fair to say?
Why do they kill their first people?
That one is more of an accident, right?
Accident's a funny word.
Well,
I didn't mean to kill him when I bashed him over the head with the toilet tank.
Well, no, but it's I guess accident's probably the wrong word, but it's
happenstance.
It's the epitome of, hey, we're just nice white guys hanging
out.
Come
on, everybody's Irish on St. Paddy's Day.
This force comes into their world. They invite them in. They welcome them to be a part of it, and that force pushes them to kill.
What is the force? What are you talking about here?
The force being the Russian mobsters.
Oh, yes, yeah.
They push themselves into the world of this Irish bar.
The Russian mobsters enter into fuck ass's bar.
Yep.
And they get into a big bar fight. They light a man's ass on fire, and it's treated as though that's like a cool thing to do and not like homoerotic at all. Like, yeah, bar fight. I'm punching you. I'm kicking you. I have won. Now I'm going to tie you to this bar, soak your ass in alcohol, and light it on fire.
Light your butt on fire.
Like a normal bar fight thing to do. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So then the Russian mobsters, the next day, go out for revenge because one of his asses got lit on fire.
Yeah.
They go up to these boys' dojo in their loft apartment that they're squatting in illegally, and get into a big fight. Fucking one thing leads to another. They take one of the brothers down to the alley to kill him. Brother number 2 lifts the toilet out of the fucking floor, and it walks up to the roof and drops it on this guy's head. Excellent aim, by the way.
Yeah.
And then, so the 2 Russian mobsters die. The brothers steal all these guns and money. And then God tells them to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what ends up happening. What do you think of that series of events? Does that seem like a well-written movie to you?
Well, I think
it just seems a little bit it's like it for a movie that is trying to claim such a moral high ground of like these people need to die. It's like it all starts from a personal vendetta and like a homoerotic bondage scenario of lighting this Russian guy's ass on fire.
I don't know. I think I really like the scene where the Russians break into their dojo. Like I remember that it takes me back to the very first time I watched it, because I really like in movies when there is a conflict and you can't figure out how your protagonists are going to get out of that conflict.
The Dukes of Hazzard moment.
Sure, I've never watched that, but
freeze frame.
Yeah.
How are the Duke boys going to get out of this one?
Yeah, exactly. And I remember watching that thinking, how is this guy going to save his brother? They've taken him outside. He is handcuffed to a toilet. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't see a way that I could be like, well, that's probably going to happen, you know? Mm-hmm. And that makes that scene cool to me. Like, I always really liked that.
That you didn't expect that he would rip the toilet out of the ground using only his, like, stringy, towny muscles.
Yeah. That, he's got that, don't push him. That's,
don't push this white boy.
Don't push the
don't
white
push
boy to
this
those
savage
limits.
white boy.
That superhuman strength, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. I liked that scene. I don't know. It's like I said, it's a movie that I like about a stereotype that I don't like. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of things in this movie that are pretty cringy. I think I don't know. I think there is a lot of sexuality is a weird thing in this movie.
We'll just wait till we talk about the fan fiction.
Because I don't know that all of the stuff with Agent Smecker is, he's gay in the film, and
allegedly,
but
it seems more like he's a straight guy who really hates gay people and wants to like make fun of them all the time.
Well, and it's weird because
which is what Troy Duffy is,
I was
by the way.
Say, like when I watched that, I'm like, I feel like it's Troy Duffy trying to incorporate a gay person into his film without having any idea, like without having ever
met a gay person.
Having
ever experienced a gay person.
Like, I've never.
We all remember the first time we experienced a gay person.
Never met one, never seen one in real life. Not entirely sure what it is gay people do.
That's a bit of a stunt for Los Angeles also. That's tough to pull off.
Yeah, and it's just the way they handle that. Like I want to be like, when I was younger, I guess I wanted to be like, oh, it's cool that that character is gay and they include a gay person, but it's not done in a nice way. No. It's a very weird. It feels like there's a lot of hatred towards
gay people.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, I can hear Troy Duffy saying like, if you want to be gay, go be gay, but don't fucking do it in front of me. Like, that's what it feels like.
It's the epitome of that, which is also the kind of thing that is said by the types of 15 and 16-year-old boys who are the target audience for Boondock Saints. So that's what I'm saying about why I like this movie. It's such a perfect encapsulation. Like, there was no reason for Smecker to be gay.
Yeah.
But it needed to be in there because that's such an important part of that 15, 16-year-old boy attitude of like, oh, my gay people, it's those F-bomb fucking slurs I don't like.
Yeah. Smecker's a cool gay guy.
Smecker's a totally chill gay guy.
He's not.
If his gay boyfriend's being too gay, he'll smack him. He'll smack him upside the head.
If his gay bartender's being too gay, he'll call him on it.
He'll call him out.
Man, what a weird movie.
Man, fuck this movie.
I like this movie. You know what?
I like it too. Do I? I don't know.
I don't know.
Do I? Here, I wish the Boondock Saints did not exist.
Okay.
But if we have to live in the world where it does exist, I think we need to study it.
Nah, see, I can't even get that. I enjoy this movie.
I think it makes the world worse.
How so?
Because it has encouraged those 15, 16-year-old boys to not grow out of their bullshit.
Yeah.
There's a whole generation of young men who never came to the realization that the Boondock Saints is not a good movie.
You know, well, I guess I'm one of them.
There's
Fuck. I think that this movie is a reflection of those people, and I don't think that it existing does further damage. I think that's already a problem.
Would you say that you live by the precepts put forth in the Boondock Saints about vigilante justice being the answer, about how like God is totally down with people killing people, and because I don't think you do. That you're not the kind of person I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who saw Boondock Saints at the prime ripe age to do so and said, "Yep, that pretty much sums it up."
Yeah,
never need to progress past that, ethically speaking.
I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Do you think that?
Because I feel like that gets. I don't know. I don't even know what to say next. I'm stuck in a loop, Ben.
I don't know.
I like this movie. Well, I'm gonna edit most of this out. Where do we talk from here?
Where do we go from here? All right, you want to talk about the fan fiction a little bit?
If only to get it out of the way.
Because here's what's up. Young men react to Boondock Saints in a certain way. What we were just describing, what I just described, and you seems to have taken you aback somewhat. Young women react to Boondock Saints entirely differently. What young women do is they immediately start to fantasize about inserting themselves into the lives of the McManus brothers.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just a runaway. You know, I found these two young Irishmen to hang out with. Also, they're brothers. Also, totally gay for each other. All right? Probably 90% of Boondock Saints fan fiction falls into the category of slash. Are you familiar with this?
No, I know. I don't read fan fiction.
You don't have to read fan fiction to know what slash fiction is. All right, you just need to expose yourself a little bit to the seedy feminine underbelly of the internet. Something that I have done joyously and repeatedly.
Something that I'm very interested in.
Not to imply that I've been exposing myself in the physical sense.
Have you been writing Boondock Saints fan fiction for years?
I have not been writing it. I have been meditating upon it.
Okay.
Let's say. All right. Let me give you the basics, okay? This is from the Boondock Saints fandom newbies guide. This is a live journal post.
Wow, okay. So we're talking
from around 2006. Yep, this was from June of 2006, which is when I think that a lot of Boondock Saints fan fiction stuff started coming out a lot, because it got that re-release, and it's like it accelerated. It hit the fucking stratosphere in 2006. I think that
fan fiction, this is probably an unpopular opinion. Sorry, all you fanfic readers and writers.
I'm gonna gird my loins for this one.
I think fan fiction comes from a place of desperation for when you love a franchise so much that the way you enjoy it, the way you are able to enjoy it, there isn't enough of it. I think that's where it starts. Like Star Wars, these 3 movies are really, really good, and I've seen them a million times, and I want more Star Wars, but I don't enjoy watching the movies anymore. Let's write books. Let's read books. And I think that I'm not surprised that this movie has such a big fan fiction base, because based on, from a guy who never reads fan fiction, based on my assumptions about fan fiction, if you really, really like this movie, and I think a lot of people really, really liked this movie, there's just the one movie, you know.
At least circa 2006, though.
Troy's been there trying to help you plug away and get the rest of the stuff out. But so I can see a lot of fiction being written because your love of the movie surpasses your ability to just watch the same movie over and over again.
Well, okay, I disagree with you somewhat about the reason fan fiction gets written. I don't think it's out of desperation. I think that if a person is very imaginative, then those imaginative impulses will find a way to express themselves. And I think that what fan fiction represents is a tremendous outpouring of feminine creativity of young women in their teens mostly, saying, I have all these stories in my head, but no way to publish them until the internet comes out. At which point, suddenly all of these stories in my head start to sort of get like papered over on top of existing properties that I engage with my friends online.
Yeah.
So you build the fandom collaboratively. You work together to figure out, all right, what are the important moments in this story? Harry Potter is an incredible, Harry Potter is such a deep well of fan fiction. And fan fiction is often self-insertive. You have a story that you want to happen to you, so your fantasies that you have in your mind express themselves through the medium of fan fiction. No, obviously that's not the case for all fan fictions. A lot of fan fictions are just like a cool story that I thought up, and it's just actually kind of good. But that's not really the case with Boondock Saints. With Boondock Saints, it really does seem to be mostly pornography. It does mostly seem to be like, we watched this movie and these guys were really, really hot to this specific type of young woman.
Yeah.
And I need to imagine them having sex with each other. And I know that there are a lot of other people like me out there who want to imagine these brothers having sex with each other. So I'm going to write a piece of fan fiction to help them accomplish that goal. Let me read you a little bit from this.
Please do.
From this. On the fandom, Boondock Saints has a relatively small fandom, but it is an extremely close one. The easiest way to find good stories is to browse other people's memories for them. And the easiest way to find the best icons is to look at what other people have gacked from each other. Search me for what that fucking sentence means. All right. It's an extremely stable fandom with a few new people coming in and a few people leaving, but mostly the same people staying. So it's described as like it's
pretty stable.
There's like an alchemical element to the
low
fan
turnover
fiction.
rate.
Low turnover rate. It's not very volatile. Not a lot of new faces. We're a pretty laid back, anything goes kind of group, Ooh. But we are, for the most part, a bunch of horny women delighting in a set of pretty boys to slash. Because they are very pretty, really. And I want to clarify that I'm not reading this to make fun of it. I'm reading this because I love it. I think it's amazing that the internet and Boondock Saints work together to bring this out. And if I'm being totally honest, I think that Boondock Saints is already vigilante fan fiction for what Troy Duffy just wanted to have happen in the world. And I think that taking that empty, vile property and filling it with these like feminine fantasies is one of my favorite things that's ever happened to a piece of media. Fan fiction usually, in my opinion, usually weighs down a property. I think that's kind of what's happened with Harry Potter. Like, it has its shining bright moments, but the fervor with which people are fans of that property and the way in which a fan fiction community tends to pick out individual details and write whole stories about those details has weakened the impact that Harry Potter can have on people. Boondock Saints, on the other hand, I think that the Boondock Saints fan fiction elevates the film. That's what I have to say about the Boondock Saints fan fiction. You want to hear some Boondock Saints fan fiction, Curtis? You go ahead. You can say no. I'm going to do it anyway.
That's fine.
Give me a second. Here, vamp a little bit.
I don't. I don't know, man.
What do you think about anything?
Stuff is good.
Stuff?
No, I
things? It doesn't have to be about fan fiction. Give me some more shit from Boondock Saints.
God, Christ. You'd think this episode would be easier because I actually enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, unlike those David Lynch shit shows that I
Most of
subjected
those-
you to.
Most of those. Not even most. I'm just, too much of anything. I get worn out.
I had a good time.
Yeah. Ugh.
We're not here to relitigate the David Lynch series.
I'm just staring down my copy of Lost Highway.
You like that movie.
I did.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I did like that one, and that's how I feel about it now. Now that we've put it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the quest. Are you ready to read your?
I'm just going to give you a taste, all right?
Okay, give me a taste.
I've done a sampling.
Give me a little morsel.
Whoa.
You like that?
No, I didn't. I didn't realize it was going to happen. This is from An Eye for an Eye.
Okay.
Rated T. It's in English. It contains humor and tragedy.
Oh Christ.
That's the genre. It's almost 100,000 words long. I'm going to read all of them. And it was published.
Each one of the words.
It was published in 2011. Chapter 1. Smokes, Shots, and Shame. Just going to read the first paragraph. Blaine. Hospitals bore me, so why do I subject myself and end up practically getting my own permanent room? I pondered to myself one particularly late night. I washed the soap off her hands and watched it swirl around the drain. Man, I was tired of being tired. Being stuck in the hospital make me more tired than usual. Sighing, I poked the bags under my brown eyes. I was quite plain, in my opinion. My pinned, straight, brown hair was cut in a style that my stepfather had distastefully called scene. Whatever, I dug it. Pulling my red, black, and white flannel sleeves down, I left the bathroom. What's that song my dad always used to sing? I'm much too young to feel this damn old.
Man, I hate everybody. Just in general.
Yeah?
You know what? The podcast is supposed to be a happy place.
See, as I read that paragraph, I felt my heart lift with joy because of what an honest expression it was of the author's experience of the world. It's naive art. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with that term at all?
No.
It's art made by a person who maybe doesn't realize that they're making art, but they just have something inside of them that they need to get out.
Man,
and I think that paragraph falls pretty well within that.
You like that?
That purview. Like is a funny word.
Yeah.
I don't know if I liked it. Am I going to recommend that anybody read it?
I'm not going to read the rest of the 100,000 words.
But I think it says something very honest about this individual's experience of the world. Maybe not what she intended it to say, but something honest nonetheless.
I don't know.
This is a tough conversation.
We worked ourselves into a corner with this fan fiction thing.
I thought you would be pleased.
No,
well, I had to talk about that.
That's fair.
You want to talk about more things from Boondock Saints? The actual film.
The actual film. I want to talk about the quest, the mission statement of the Boondock Saints, mm-hmm. and where you align yourself.
Okay.
How do you feel about a movie where these two brothers have, as they feel, rightfully killed these people
because God told them to?
But that was before God told them.
Oh, the Russian mobsters.
And then God spoke to them. I feel like there should be like. There's like a level of there's like a tier level of communicating with God. So, from
don't try to systematize this.
No, you have to. There's the way that God speaks to people you can rank those. I think you can.
you can rank anything.
I think you can.
That's the mission statement of this show.
I think you can rank them. So we'll say God spoke to them on like a third tier, like a number 3 style communication with God.
Some low level angel stole the Metatron's equipment.
Not as low as it could be.
Go kill people.
Not as low as it could be. There are, I think, like lower communications with God, but to just keep going, to just pick these people that you think are sinners and remove them from the world. Mm-hmm. How do you fall into that?
How do I fall?
Obviously,
on it?
It's
Curtis.
Religious,
I think that
religious extremism.
But no. I think I've been very clear about how I feel about it. Not only do I think that act was evil, I think that making a movie about it. I think making a movie about it was also evil.
What if the act of doing that was the ultimate good?
Listen. All right, you're not a religious man, so I'm not.
Nope.
I'm taking it into my hands to educate you right now about this.
Uh-huh.
God does not need individual human beings to do His will and to kill people for Him.
Right.
If God is going to punish somebody, He can pull the strings and make it happen.
Can He?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well. All right. Here we go. So, what if? Compared to, all right, here. How should I start this?
Did you ever see the movie Frailty?
No.
Bill Pullman's in it. He's
Pullman.
I think Matthew McConaughey's in it too.
I love Matthew McConaughey. What have I been doing?
It's a really great movie about this guy recounting the story of his childhood, where his father went crazy and started thinking that people just walking around in the world were demons, and that it was up to him to kill them underneath his shed.
You know what? I think I've seen part of that.
Commit shed.
Did he make his kid dig a big hole in the basement?
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen
exactly.
part of that.
Yeah, you should watch the whole thing because it's really good. That's how I feel about what they do in the Boondock Saints. So that's a more honest expression of what this is like.
Let's go on this. My chair's so creaky. Let's go on this adventure.
You've been trying to phrase this
theoretical adventure.
Are you ready to?
I'm ready to get into it.
Let's imagine.
What if the Boondock Saints takes place in our reality, the reality with the God who has said, "Thou shalt not kill." You do not need, it's not your job to punish people. That's my deal. Mm-hmm. Now, these brothers, when you compare the life you have on Earth is the blink of an eye compared to the eternity that you'll get in the afterlife. Mm-hmm. Now, what if these brothers come to the conclusion that the things that these bad men are doing to their victims, assaulting, they list a slew of crimes.
Rip.
What if they say these are so bad that I would trade my eternal salvation so these victims don't have to suffer for a blink of an eye compared to the rest of their... What if they say the sexual assault on a child is so bad that I would kill the person that did it. I would trade my eternal salvation to make sure that that child doesn't, that person pays, or that no other child has to suffer one fraction of eternity. It's that bad.
Well, you can't... Killing a rapist does not unrape the child.
But it prevents further.
But you don't know if further assaults are going to happen. You're guessing. Also, the perpetrator of the crime is going to receive their eternal, fiery torment in hell. Mm-hmm. So it's not your job to exact vengeance.
Oh, I agree. It's not
their job to exact vengeance.
But if this person, let's say...
If you kill people, you go to hell.
No, I understand that. But if you kill that person before they kill more people...
You go to hell.
You still... That's what I'm saying. They will still go to hell. you will still go to hell because you broke God's law and killed them, but you also, how many people would that assassin, how many more would he have killed?
You don't know.
You don't know, but you have a pretty good idea.
No,
that
you don't.
Since
You
it's
have
his
no.
job,
You have
he'll
no.
keep doing it.
You have no idea what's going to happen after that. Only God knows the future.
Well, does he?
What if the next day after you killed him, the hitman was going to find God and turn his life around, and minister to the world and preach the gospel and turn himself in and go to prison to have justice served against him?
As the McManus brothers, you don't have that knowledge, so you're just playing the odds.
So you have to assume the worst for the future.
The
which
collateral
is
damage.
Directly assuming the worst for the future exhibits a lack of faith in God.
Batman once said that
I love any sentence that starts with that
if
phrase.
you kill a killer, the number of killers in the world remains the same.
When did Batman say that?
I don't know, at some point.
Yeah.
Been trying to justify why at that point he didn't kill anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep going, you're still in the positive.
What is in the positive? You're saying that killing a killer makes the world better.
I'm saying that killing more killers means that the total number of kills will decrease over time.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
By killing, you introduce more violence in the world, and violence perpetrates violence. You kill a killer. Maybe that killer was a family man, aside from being a killer. Now you've killed a patriarch within a family. What's going to happen to his kids? You know, their father died violently. How are they going to grow up? They're going to grow up thinking that the world is a violent place.
We can't assume that will happen any more than we can assume a killer will or will not continue to kill.
Yeah, okay, that's true. What's your argument is that by killing many killers, you make the world a better place. You
don't make the world a better place.
You make it a safer place.
You make the numbers of innocent people that are killed go down.
Not necessarily.
The numbers that would be killed, because you killing that one person.
Well, but we've already established that you don't know what those individuals are going to do in the future.
But I've established that you're playing the odds. And that you might, you have some murderers that the next day may have changed their ways and gone to prison and atoned to God for their sins. But you're not perfect. You've already said that in this scenario that you're trading your salvation at the cost of you're doing damage control.
Why would you ever trade your salvation?
I wouldn't. I mean, I guess I have because I've given up on that, but I don't know. That's just something that I think about.
It's petty vengeance. That's all it is. That's all it is in Boondock Saints.
I don't know. And then the other thing that this movie makes me think about is I think I can't remember his name. Harold Kushner, the philosophy dude.
I don't know.
Basically said that his idea is that there are three camps. Not three camps. There are three essential ideas about God. The first is that he's all-knowing. The second is that he is all-powerful. And the third is that he cares about you immensely. Mm-hmm. And he says... And I haven't delved...
Well, it's the idea that all three of them can't be true.
I haven't delved
because if there's
super
evil
deep
in the
into
world,
this.
he can't be all-powerful and all-loving.
They contradict each other, but... if you take out any one you want, any of the other two can work together. Mm-hmm. And he chooses to believe that God is all-knowing, and he does love you and care about you, but he isn't always all-powerful and cannot stop bad things from happening. He's incapable of stopping bad things from happening. Mm-hmm. And that brings me... I don't think that is true, necessarily, because I don't really think any of it's true, but I think about that when I watch the Boondock Saints. In this movie, they have their maybe we should define how I how I fucking tear communicating with God. But God speaks to them and tells them that this is the right thing to do. And I think that you can apply that thought process to the Boondock Saints, of maybe God does care about these people that are being hurt, wronged, killed, and he knows that it's happening, and he knows every time it happens, but he can't do anything, so he enacts these McManus brothers to do it for him.
Well, seemingly the one thing that God can't do is interfere with human free will. He can't interfere with human agency, because we have agency. Most great crimes and many great tragedies are born from the human mind. So I guess that's how I would answer the question of what God can and cannot do.
So even that would remove an all-powerful aspect if he has enabled himself to make something that he cannot interfere with.
Yeah, I never really spend too much time thinking about that.
I probably think about it too much.
No, that's okay. You're thinking about it.
Yeah.
But you're thinking about it as regards a God that you claim not to believe in.
Yeah.
So you have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Because I want it to be true. Like
you want there to be a God.
I wish there were. I guess is probably in my heart, my deepest heart, how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. It would be nice if there were.
Yeah.
But I don't see it.
That's okay.
But anyway, Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints. I don't think I like this movie very
I like
much.
it a lot. I really enjoyed this movie.
Okay, other things about the Boondock Saints. So, and to talk about this, this may be my final thought on the Boondock Saints. And one of the most repulsive things I found about it. And it happens right at the beginning. And to explain why I found it so repellent, I'm going to have to tell you a little bit about an episode of Mr. Rogers that I was watching.
Okay.
Mr. Rogers walks into his house, and he's carrying a bag, and after he changes his clothes into his house clothes, he starts to talk to us about what's in the bag. And he says, oh, what's in the bag is food, so we need to treat it with respect. And it turns out to be just a pretzel, right? Like a nice soft pretzel from a local bakery. And what he does is he takes these to show that he treats it with respect. He takes these paper towels and lays them out on the table and sets the different types of pretzels out on top of it. Now contrast this with what happens during the opening credits of the Boondock Saints when Murphy McManus and Connor McManus get into a food fight with raw meat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? Are you kind of seeing what I'm saying? They're bad boys.
Yeah, they are.
They're bad boys. They're bad Christians, and I think that what happens to them in the movie is probably demonic possession.
I don't know. I like to take the movie at face value. It's a fantasy, and I like to I like to look through that window. I enjoyed that movie, and I don't think it's something that should translate to real life, but I don't know.
So you don't believe in the value of vigilante justice?
I don't know. It's tough.
Are you ready to disavow vigilante justice?
I think I'm not a big enough person to do that.
Any individual is.
I can say that about myself.
Is able to disavow it.
I cannot help feel the satisfaction of when somebody gets what's coming to them. I can't relinquish that primitive feeling. And I think that, when I know that vigilante justice, we'll say, is wrong, but I also don't put enough value into the things that say it's wrong. I just don't care about anything.
We've already established that you fundamentally don't value human life.
Yeah.
Right? you don't think that human life has an essential value.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. But at the same time, I appreciate the police. I like when people try to make the general lives of the people around them easier. And I don't think that I think if there were some way that you could guarantee that vigilante justice was absolute, that it was right, there'd be nothing wrong with it. I guess is what I'm trying, maybe how I feel about it.
Yeah. Then it's not really vigilante justice at that point, right?
Well, I guess it would still be vigilante justice because let's say somebody murders somebody and then somebody kills that person rather than that person going to jail. I don't know how I would feel about that, but I guess I have a hard time feeling like I'd feel way worse about someone killing that person than them being in jail. I guess theoretically, I haven't had to experience the hurt of a lost life like that, so I can't say how I would feel if somebody they just skipped all the steps in between justice and the court of law and prison. But I have a feeling it feels like I wouldn't be too upset by it. But I don't know. Hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we done?
We can be.
How long is this one?
Well, it's probably getting up there. Yeah, we're at an hour.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, I have not seen Boondock Saints 2. I'm excited.
Dude. if you man, it's however you want to fucking cut it, whether you love the first one or hate the first one, the fact remains the same. The second one is not as good as the first one. So,
is Bob Marley in it?
Yeah.
All right, he was my favorite. He was one of my favorite parts of the first
one. Most of the cast returns.
Is Willem Dafoe in it?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I couldn't stop thinking about while watching Boondock Saints?
What?
Willem Dafoe was Antichrist.
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen Antichrist?
I haven't seen it.
I got the impression that you'd seen Antichrist.
I'm familiar with like the big gross out part of that movie.
That's not even the scariest part of that movie.
And I just I don't need that. It's weird as like a guy who likes horror movies. Like there are certain, like I've never seen The Human Centipede. Don't care. No interest.
Don't put Antichrist and The Human Centipede in the same fucking...
I only can compare them in the sense that there are things that can happen in movies that just trigger an emotional, like, yeah, I don't need to see that. I don't care if it's a good movie or not. I don't need that.
I mean, it's not just a good movie. It's a great movie.
It's still. I don't need to see.
Here, I've watched Antichrist with people, and I have advised them to just look away from that part. Because the rest of the movie is so good that even if you can't go to that, like, even if you can't follow it to that absolute depth,
yep,
the rest of the journey is good. Like, even if you're not like me and you don't want to like plunge your face into the filth and just like watch it happen so that you can rise back out of it afterwards, you'll still plunge a pretty good distance of just like regular horror movie stuff.
Yeah.
Before you hit the point where he gets like hobbled and gets his dick pounded a nail through it.
Speaking of Willem Dafoe,
yep,
I was reading that the part of the decisions that the movie company was trying to do is they were thinking of who they could cast as Smecker, and some of the top picks were like Robert De Niro and Sylvester Stallone. Those actors are so pigeonholed and famous that they just do what they do, and like I can easily picture each one of them playing that role, and I don't think it makes any sense. I can't think like this role. I can't think of any actor that could do it in the way that Willem Dafoe does it.
I think that it's such a flatly written role that a lot of what Willem Dafoe brings to it is the crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like yelling, "There was a firefight."
Yeah.
And I think that any other actor would have brought their own brand of crazy shit to the role.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been just as good.
I can't see it. I can't see it with Robert De Niro and Sylvester and old Sly.
Sly Stallone. Sly would have probably wanted to make some changes to the script, and Troy Duffy would have gotten very upset about that.
So, yeah. But anyway, sorry, I went off on that. But next week...
Troy Duffy is a worse director than Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith's not that bad. Like, that's not even the same. Yeah, we'll talk about Boondock Saints 2, All Saints Day. Mostly recurring cast.
Yeah.
Not as good as the first one.
Okay. I'm really curious to see how I'll feel about it. Because if Boondock Saints is in the same way that fan fiction is honest about that young woman's experience of the world, I think that Boondock Saints is very honest about Troy Duffy's experience of the world. And a naive artist like Troy Duffy, it's borderline impossible for him to stop making naive art.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't understand what's right and what's wrong about what he's doing. All he's doing is responding to what the muse inside of his head tells him all the answers are. So I think my prediction, I think I'm going to like Boondock Saints 2 as much as I liked the first one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know what, though? I don't know. Because it's not as good. That's all I can just reiterate over and over again. And especially, I think, if you aren't sold by the first one, anything in the first one that you could consider artistic or significant is lacking in the second one.
Well, okay, what are you considering artistic or significant from the first one?
Just the way in which it's filmed, the story it's telling, the choices that were made throughout the movie.
Give me a couple specifics.
The flashbacks to the crime, how
like structural script stuff.
You know, how these characters meet, the purpose that brings them together and sets them off on their journey.
Okay, all right.
All of it is much more forced and less believable. And you have characters in the second one that they just fill in the role of characters that were in the first one. It's a completely different actor, different character with a different background, just filling in the archetype for a character that did the same thing in the first one.
So for me, what I found, I found the script stuff fine, but like I said, it's a flat Tarantino imitation in my opinion. For me, the stuff that makes Boondock Saints artistically significant is the stuff like the moment where that lesbian bull slur feminist goes on a rant about the rule of thumb, and then they beat her up. To me, that's one of the most artistically significant moments in the Boondock Saints because of how perfectly and purely it communicates Troy Duffy's worldview, and how perfectly and purely it corresponded to the worldview of many 15 and 16-year-old boys circa the mid-2000s. So it's stuff like that. It's like the guy getting his ass lit on fire is another great artistic moment. I mean, I'm trying to think of other things, but it's all the stuff in that vein that to me is so good, and I'm hoping that there's more of it in Boondock Saints too.
There might be, but some of the things that I think of that I don't necessarily, I'm not even going to say necessarily, I don't think these are deep or meaningful images, but I know they're intentional. Like, there's a lot of like allegory to Christ with the McManus brothers. You have when the Russians bust into their dojo, there's this very like symbolic shot of their crucifix beads like banging against the wall, and when they cauterize
what a dumb fucking scene that was. Also,
Rocco's wounds.
Man, we can talk about this for another hour. We haven't even talked about Rocco
necklaces are hanging
yet.
over the edge of the table. When I always want to call him the older one, even though they're twins.
I have no idea.
The one that gets handcuffed to the toilet.
I think that's Connor.
There's a lot of he's bleeding from his wrists, and then when they get handcuffed to the chairs, they break his wrist so he can slide it out of the handcuffs. There's a lot of like crucifix and bleeding wrists imagery in this that I feel like are supposed to be artistic, like this is important, this is Christ imagery, and it's happening to these characters because, you know, let's say, you know, they're making this sacrifice, because I think that's what Troy Duffy sees it as. I don't. I think it's a self-righteous...
Well, yeah. Troy Duffy sees it as this is their cross to bear.
Yeah.
Their cross to bear is this mission from God.
Yeah, and anything like that is gone in the second one.
Yeah, and that all sucks anyway.
Yeah.
So like, and that's what I like is the stuff that is unintentionally meaningful is what I like from this style of art.
Okay.
Stuff like the Smecker character. What Troy Duffy wants that character to be and what the character actually is are two completely different things. What Troy Duffy wants the character to be is like, look how progressive I am. I'm totally down with gay people as long as they don't act too gay, right? But what that character actually is that, but like ugly.
Yeah.
That, but with all the patina of acceptability stripped away from it. The another one of the artistic scenes that I love is when Smecker smacks his boyfriend. We talked about it earlier, but like I think that is a great moment of cartoonish meaning in this bullshit movie, and I love that. I come to it for that. I don't know if I would say I enjoyed this movie ironically, but it's something like that, you know?
I thoroughly enjoy this movie without being able to relate or sympathize with the characters. I love...
It's a fun movie with a lot of good one-liners.
I like the humor that's injected into it. I think there's...
Rocco, the funny man.
The funny man. His telling his awful joke to his boss.
I think that joke's pretty funny.
I think that...
Call me evil, but I think that's a pretty funny joke.
I think that... All right. Here's another bad area to go down.
How much of this are you going to edit out?
Well, we'll see. To me, all right, this is dangerous. To me, I completely agree with the funny is money phrase. If any person someone can make a joke about anything and can make it funny. Now, the problem with jokes about race is that they don't come from a place, like the jokes are usually not actually funny. The punchline is that it reinforces something, a hatred you already have towards the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like racist humor. The joke in this movie is funnier than a lot of racist jokes.
I agree completely.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
All right. So that's, hopefully we don't get any letters for that. Like, I think it's a very, very simple and kind of tame. Nobody gets hurt in that joke, which is, as far as racist jokes go, that's a good racist joke.
Hey,
because
3 people get what they want in that joke.
Yeah, I know a lot of racist jokes, most of which are violent or very mean. So that's I like that scene. I love the actor that plays Don, whatever Italian name.
Vaccaretti.
Yeah, the bald guy. That guy's great.
Yeah,
great actor.
The little look that he does with the sandwich.
Yeah, like it's beautiful. Like, just so like, look
They
at this
say
thing.
you can't even threaten to kill people anymore. Things have changed.
The fucking his part of what makes him so great. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose, but just the way he enunciates. He just has this like off the wall cadence that just like is so satisfying that you insignificant little fox. Like it's like just totally emphasizing the wrong like syllable. I was gonna say part of a word. Syllable. And then this awkward scene where he muddles through this not very funny joke, and then it actually lands
with Ron Jeremy in the scene also.
Weird role.
Whoa.
And then for I bet you Ron Jeremy just like goes to the bar that Troy Duffy works at, and Troy Duffy has this like weird homoerotic crush on Ron Jeremy.
He probably thinks Ron Jeremy is a hero.
Yeah, probably he seems like I bet he's from that era of 90s guy.
Yeah. Yes, he's that genre of 90s guy.
Yeah. And then with his boss is just like, tell me another joke. And it's just that's funny. There's a lot of humor in this movie. A lot of the humor lands for me. Mm-hmm. I can't say I agree with the message, but I think it's important that movies with a bad message can still exist, because it's very important to my worldview that violent music and video games and movies don't grow violent people. So it's important to me that it exists and that it can exist so that people that like it don't become it, if only to serve my...
I don't think that violent media grows violent people, but I think that violent media often fails to make people better in the way that media should. And that's kind of what the
media doesn't need to make people better. Speaking of which, when are we going to do our American History X episode?
Someday.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Last August was the perfect time. That shit was pretty deep. last August.
Yep. Yeah.
We'll have to wait.
There's a new video by YouTuber Sean out about the Charlottesville fucking protest.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good video. Kind of goes over how they're trying to spackle over some of the bullshit that came to light as a result of the Charlottesville. They're trying to spread the lie that the woman was killed she died of a heart attack at the same time that the car was crashing into a group of pedestrians. The car didn't kill her. It was the heart attack upon seeing it.
I admit that this comes from the highest place of white privilege, and I say that full knowing that I say this from a position of safety. But it's fucked up that not enough has changed through American culture when it comes to race. And part of me, because I think it's on a path to change, I like when shit like this starts to boil up every once in a while, because I think it makes us confront that it hasn't changed and it needs to change. Anyway, we can't go down the race road today.
Nah,
we're just two white boys.
We've done it before.
Yeah, we've gone down that road. We're two white boys that are not gonna start shooting people we think are evil. So
yeah, so we're on the up and up.
We're good.
We're doing okay.
Well, is that it?
What have we learned today?
This is a good movie. I like this movie. We've learned that I was worried that I was going to cringe for 2 hours straight while watching this movie, and I walked away from it pretty happy that I watched it again.
I have learned... I am glad I watched it as well, because like I said, I think that it's important to study this movie and understand its evil, as it is important to study evil at a distance and to understand it so that you can more properly fight against it.
Yeah.
I think that this movie is very meaningful. I think that this movie comes from the year 1999, which kind of, as we implied before, is like an important year for understanding modern American culture. A widely misunderstood year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
I guess that's where I am with this movie.
It leads into, which I know we've talked about, my least favorite, like, I don't know. We've talked about before about how the early 2010s were just, like, in my opinion, like a dark time for, like, American culture. I think this serves as like a proto movie for that era.
Well, all the media that gets produced is that what you mean? Like the early 2010s, a dark time for media?
The early 2000s, I should say.
Oh yeah.
You know, that was we've listed off things. I don't know if this was included in that, but I watched American Pie the other day. Mm-hmm. Man, what the fuck? We were on a dark road, my friend.
Comedies have a really short shelf life.
Yeah.
Like, watch the 40-Year-Old Virgin now.
Yeah. Boy, howdy.
Right? It's also not good.
Yeah.
Or watch, like, fucking Porky's. Right?
I hope Superbad will hold up. I feel Superbad was kind of my, I guess, our generation as a whole. Maybe you don't have significant feelings towards it. But
that was very significant for me at the time.
that was kind of our generation's American Pie. It was kind of our most relevant high school movie.
Yep.
I hope that one holds up, because I truly love that movie.
Let's return to Superbad sometime.
Please.
Yeah, let's put that on the list.
That'll be a good one. You know what we should do? We'll do that. We should do that relatively soon. We should try to line that up around graduation, around June.
Oh, yeah, good idea. Good idea. I bet there's still a lot of high school kids watching that movie around graduation.
I hope so. I don't know what it means. I work at a high school. I don't know what it means to be a high school kid anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone has smartphones now.
Yeah.
I walked into a bathroom today and there was a kid listening to loud music on his smartphone sitting in a stall. And he heard me come in and he turned it down. And I said, ironically, "Why'd you turn it down?" And he was like, he's like, "Sorry." And he turned it back up. That was a true story of something that happened to me today.
That's incredible. This whole podcast was worth it for that story.
Just for that bit of knowledge.
Just for that story. Cut out all the God stuff. Yeah. Leave that story in.
All right. I'm just going to say, I'm glad we addressed the God stuff, because in case it all gets cut out, I'm really glad that this isn't going to make any sense for...
Yeah.
We'll see how I feel about it on Saturday when I edit it.
Yeah.
Once I remove myself from a few days.
Yep. Yeah, you have time to reflect on everything.
Yeah. Anyway, if we haven't made you feel awkward enough as it is...
Man, I don't think people come to this podcast to listen to our theological treatise.
Yeah, that's true. So if you're still here, we appreciate it. We hope you keep coming back. I'm glad, personally, to be out of this David Lynch place. I'm hoping that some of these 1- and 2-shot episodes reel some of you back in.
Yep.
We'll try not to get so philosophical, I guess.
Yeah.
Next time. You can listen to Ben and Curt Till It Hurts by following Black Gold Podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. You can follow Ben and Curt on Twitter at Ben_and_Curt. You can follow Curt on Twitter and Instagram at Curtcake5K. The more times I say Curt, the less it sounds like a name and more like a weird noise.
Curt.
Yeah, we'll be back next week to talk about Boondock Saints 2.
All Saints
Day. We got some good music stuff coming after that.
Yep.
So that's it. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thank you for listening to this. Bye.